wild releasing video range for all life has to offer.
In the dream time, the spiritual past of the Australian Aboriginal people, there is a belief that the dingo can see into the supernatural and warn of the approach of evil spirits. But there is a darker side to the dingo, for it can also be a demon and assassin of humans and mythical beings. The dingo of the ancient Dreamtime was a creature that embodied both good and evil. Today, the dingo is as mysterious and contradictory as ever. It is a beautiful creature of the wilderness in the eyes of many people. To others, it is a vicious outlaw with a bounty on its head. What is the dingo? Is it dog or wolf? Domestic or wild? Is it a native or noxious animal? Deeds and misdeeds are all of these. The dog is something very special to humans. As a tame animal, its behavior has been modified and it has entered into a companionship of trust and affection with us. Thousands of years of selective breeding from the wild wolves has produced many different domestic dogs. They are all classified as Canis familiaris. A subspecies of these, living wild in Australia, is Canis familiaris dingo, familiar dog with a dingo difference. About 4,000 years ago, an ancient seafaring people from a land to the north of Australia made voyages to this isolated continent. They brought their dogs with them. These are now called dingoes and are the only trace left of the people who carried them here. The dingo's origin is Asian, its distant ancestor the Indian wolf. It once traveled the same path of domestication as our present dogs. A chance migration as a semi-tamed animal landed it in Australia, where it wandered from the path of other dogs to become the dingo, with characteristics all its own. Any selection pressure for domestication disappeared when the dingo ran wild. The dingo moved rapidly inland, and in about 500 years it had spread throughout the whole of the continent. Its advance took it into some of the driest deserts of the world. The dingo, like other wild canids, such as the coyote and timber wolf of the Northern Hemisphere, was remarkably adaptable, surviving and thriving in extreme climates. In the high, cold mountains, it was also able to live and breed. Very few animals in Australia have adapted to such a range of environments. The dingo is a powerful and intelligent creature. The original wildlife of Australia had to contend with a similar-sized predator, but nothing as efficient as the dingo. That predator was the Tasmanian tiger, neither cat nor dog, but a marsupial. It was replaced by the dingo. The dingo never reached the island of Tasmania, so the tiger survived there for a while. Now it is more than likely extinct. The Australian Aborigines were nomadic hunter-gatherers without dogs for tens of thousands of years, until the dingo was brought here by a seafaring people. The Aborigines welcomed it round their campfires and into both their daily and spiritual lives. Most Aboriginal groups surrounded themselves with dingoes. But why would they have done this with an animal that could have been a competitor for food and a nuisance round camp? To the Aborigines, the dingo was more than just a dog. In some areas that have what is called the dog dreaming, it is an ancestor, part human, part dingo, from which all people came. In other areas, it is a watchdog of the supernatural. In spite of the close and intricate relationship Aborigines had with dingoes, they still ate them. However, this was usually in times of food shortage, and more often it was wild dingoes, not camp ones. With the introduction of dogs from Europe, the Aboriginal people eagerly accepted them in preference to dingoes. Once again, dingoes were released from an association that might have shaped them further towards domestication. The whole of Australia was once territory to the dingo, but its range is diminishing, especially in the east. It is late autumn, and the mornings are becoming cold and crisp. The mating season is announced by much howling, which helps animals locate each other and define territories. Dingoes have a very flexible social system, where they're often solitary, but will at times group together. A group will mark out its home range. Other dingoes may overlap this area, but within it there is a territory, which the occupiers will defend to the death. To raise a family, it's important to have sufficient hunting territory, that is, sufficient food. What makes dingoes so successful is that they can be both solitary and social hunters. For large prey, such as kangaroos and wombats, they work in packs, like wolves. For reptiles, birds, and other small prey, dingoes are just as capable of hunting alone. Many of Australia's native animals, including the marsupials, are nocturnal, and the dingo can be too. By working round the clock, the dingo increases the menu from which it can choose. When dingoes group together, rigid social rules apply. To see how these work, we need to recognize individuals, so we will give them names. Sitting down is a dominant male we'll call Brogo. His mate, an older female, Ngura, lies down behind him. On the left is a young, submissive female we will call Miri. Any interest she shows in Brogo is deflected by the dominant bitch, Ngura. Dingoes pair up permanently for the breeding season. It is now early winter, the height of the season. Dominant animals can be recognized by the way they hold their tails high. In a playful moment, Brogo makes the mistake of showing interest in the submissive female, while Ngura, hackles raised, struts about resentfully. The male becomes too playful, and Ngura's fury is unleashed on Miri. Dingoes will sometimes fight to the death. On this occasion, the young bitch was reminded of her position, but not before she inflicted a deep wound on the dominant female. In spite of the fact that Ngura is no longer a young animal, she has reclaimed the male. Living near the dingoes are some wedge-tailed eagles, Australia's largest bird of prey. They share the airspace with some very territorial magpies. Submissive females are sometimes discouraged from mating by dominant females. But if they do, they are less likely to raise a litter because they will not be helped by other adults. A major difference between dingoes and domestic dogs is that dingoes only come on heat once a year, dogs twice. The winds of early winter blow, and instinct tells Ngura she must find a place to have her approaching family. She chooses a large hollow log as lair. She is now heavily pregnant, and the time of whelping is not far off. It is in the depths of winter that the puppies arrive, and the mother's tongue welcomes their wet bodies one by one into a cold world. The mother licks her pups to stimulate them to eliminate wastes. She consumes these, helping to keep the lair clean, and at the same time recycling about a third of the water that goes to the pups in milk. It is now the role of Brogo the father to be protector of his new family. The eagles have mated, and they too will have offspring to look after. Soon after giving birth, Ngura must recommence hunting. To provide for a litter, dingoes may rotate the location of the lair each season to help ensure there is prey in the vicinity. Game is plentiful, so after satisfying her hunger, she buries the excess for days when hunting is unsuccessful. As soon as the pup's eyes open, serious power play begins. These first lessons in dominance may one day be a matter of survival. The working mother returns at all hours after long periods of hunting. At 3 weeks of age, the puppies are still too young to eat meat. Miri is still part of the extended family. A non-breeding female attached to a group like this will help parents feed the litter. Soon, the pups are out and about and able to relieve themselves outside the den. Ngura returns from hunting, and before she even has a chance to go into the log, the puppies insist on a feed. Goannas can grow to more than 2 meters and are capable of swallowing a dingo pup whole. At this age, puppies are most vulnerable to predators and in need of protection. Brogo comes to the defense of his family. A world of completely different creatures exists far from the moist coastal forests. The outback of Australia is vast. It is dry, hot, and seemingly hostile to life. But it is in the arid areas that the dingo has survived and thrived. It's commonly thought only yellow dingoes are pure, and black is a crossbreed with introduced dogs. But early explorers saw black dingoes in the interior, well before dogs reached there. Dingoes that live in arid areas have altered their behavior to adapt to the environment. To lessen the chances of dehydration, they do most hunting in the cool of dawn and dusk. At these times, many other desert animals are also active. Part of the reason for the success of dingoes is their opportunism. If they cannot kill, they will scavenge. The flesh of dead animals is far too precious to go to waste. It is so important, dingoes will risk death defending it. The pack hesitates, even though they outnumber the defenders. A challenge is issued by the leader. In dingo society, possession confers strength and gives underdogs a psychological advantage. The pack gets the message from the pair of dingoes. They are prepared to fight rather than starve. Determination wins the right to finish the meal in peace. And all the pack leader can do to relieve his frustration at not gaining the spoils of war is to mark out a claim on the battlefield. Like a beggar at a banquet, a very emaciated dingo approaches. Its brave attempt to break through the lines of the frustrated pack failed. Food will go to the ones who need it least, to the strong and healthy. With dingoes, the territorial instinct is strong. But in the deserts, there is one place that is common and precious territory, where all tracks lead: the waterhole. The desert waterhole is an oasis of life where many of the animals must come. The waterhole can also be a place of danger because animals are forced to share this common ground with their mortal enemy. There is a common Australian saying that a dingo's breakfast is a drink of water and a good look round. Native animals are not easy game for dingoes, but some introduced ones are. Sheep are defenseless, and the dingo is no exception to many carnivores in that it will kill more than it needs to eat. Native animals are by far the major part of the dingo's diet, and attacks on sheep are not frequent. But when a pack does strike, they may kill as many as 100 sheep in a night. It is because of the conflict with sheep breeders that the dingo has been branded as a noxious animal. When attacks are severe, trappers are called in. They resort to the use of the controversial steel-jawed trap, setting them where dingoes have been killing. The dingoes responsible for sheep killing may be caught this way. However, the steel-jawed trap, banned in many countries, is a brutal implement. A year has passed. The small dingo group of the coastal forest is in the breeding season again. Brogo is still monarch. Miri, the younger bitch of last season's group, now runs with the male. Nagura, the dominant bitch of the previous year, has gone. Perhaps driven off or killed in a fight with the younger female. Miri is pregnant. In early winter, she gives birth to a family of 10, a very large litter for a dingo. The mother has chosen to raise her offspring underground, in a wombat or rabbit burrow she has enlarged. The puppies grow quickly, and soon they are inquisitive about the world of light beyond their black cave. At 4 weeks, they won't venture far from the safety of their den. Besides, little legs aren't made for long journeys. The demands of the growing family keep the adults busy. The mother gets food back to the den, not only in her mouth, but also in her stomach. She regurgitates partly digested food for the pups. She will also supply water to them in this way. It is difficult for the adults to provide both protection and food necessary for a large litter. Dingoes will travel long distances to catch game. It is possible they will leave prey close to home in reserve for the pups to live off when they're old enough to hunt. Like dingoes, eagles take a lot of rabbits, and at 7 weeks of age, puppies are no bigger than rabbits. The eagle scare all but forgotten, the pups are at the age of exploration. 3 of them wander off. leaving their littermates playing near the den. The pups venture away from their familiar surroundings. One of the pups drops behind as the others dash off. By now, the mother has noticed the pups missing and starts searching for them. Although dingoes do not bark like domestic dogs, they communicate effectively. There is a soft, anxious cough of alarm that mothers use either to locate, warn, or call their offspring to them. The mother finds the two pups returning to the den. The mother's anxious warning call is heard by the pup above the sound of the wind. The pups develop, and so too does their sense of play and mischief. This sometimes pushes the parents beyond their level of tolerance, and the father has to reprimand one of them for its cheekiness. At times, dingoes give a form of obedience lesson within the family. Parents and other members harass one particular pup until the mother intervenes and breaks up the lesson. As the pups grow, they imitate the adults in what will later become a matter of life and death. The introduction of European rabbits to Australia was a bonus for the dingo, except they are too small to be shared around. pup's fawning has paid off, but there are would-be thieves about. Survival of the strongest rules also. Water is one of the determining factors. Man-made supplies for livestock have also benefited native animals, increasing the amount of prey available for dingoes. However, in dry times, game is scarce, and submissive dingoes, such as the young and very old, are forced into less favorable areas, while dominant animals take the best hunting territories. As well as howling to find each other, dingoes have a call to avoid strangers. Another has warned of its approach, but it's far from a dominant animal. It's afflicted by mange. Mange affects young and old and is caused by an insect mite, which can be passed from mother to pups. The dingo has to share the arid regions with cattle, and in more remote areas of the outback, with wild horses or brumbies. The environment of the inland, in its erratic nature, can be harsh, both for native and introduced animals. With lack of rain and hot weather, waterholes, particularly man-made ones, dry up quickly. Cattle wade deep into the mud, searching for small pools of fresh water on the surface. They run the risk of becoming bogged. Birds are able to make use of waterholes almost to the last drop. Then, because of their nomadic nature, are able to travel far and fast to other areas. When the water is finished, cattle, horses, and dingoes must find an alternative supply quickly, or perish. In outback Australia, the dingo has always been taken very seriously. The dingo fence is evidence of this, for it is longer than the Great Wall of China and as ambitious in purpose. It attempts to separate the dingo in the north from sheep to the south. This remarkable fence, traversing 3 huge states, stretches for 10,000 kilometers. Other animals besides sheep have benefited from the fence. With fewer dingoes to the south, there is less predation, leading to an increase in animals such as red kangaroos. This fence across Australia is only one of the weapons used against the dog. A poison called 1080, used in meat baits, is another. 1080 is highly lethal to canids compared to other animals such as reptiles, carnivorous marsupials, and birds. In most states, the poison must be injected into the pieces of meat. But in some places, it is mixed onto bacon. Injecting the poison into the center of the meat reduces the chances of small native animals getting a lethal dose by nibbling at it. Using light planes, poison meat can be dropped over large areas. Broad-scale aerial baiting, in combination with dog-proof fences, could eventually eradicate the dingo from much of Australia. If there is any chance of the extinction of the dingo over the whole of Australia, it will not be from poison and fences, nor will it be from drought, guns, or traps. It will be more insidious than all these. The danger is the ordinary dog. Dingoes may be wild animals, but they are still dogs and will interbreed with domestic ones. As many as 75% of dingoes in the southeastern forests are now crossbred with domestic dogs. The dingo, isolated in Australia for about 4,000 years, became a distinctive subspecies. It is now in danger of being crossbred out of existence. Insects emerge into the warming days of summer as Miri's pups approach maturity. Though big and strong, they have not yet lost their sense of play. A spiny anteater, or echidna, out foraging for ants, is found by the young dingoes. Brogo, still the dominant male, takes over. Echidnas can claw into the ground with a grip that defies even the most experienced dingo. The young dingoes now have the speed and strength to catch and pull down animals as big as grey kangaroos. When hunting large game, they work in a pack, pursuing the quarry in turn to wear it down, at times even driving it into an ambush. In the southeastern forest of Australia, the most common prey of the dingo is kangaroo, wallaby, and wombat. A hungry pack of this size would completely consume an adult grey kangaroo in one sitting. It is over food that the hierarchy of dingo society really emerges. Dominant dogs will end up with the biggest share of the carcass, but battles are common. In this habitat, each dingo requires about 13 square kilometers to support it. If most animals of large litters survive, resources can be stretched to the limit, leading to intense competition. If the pressure is not eased, death of the submissive animals, either by fighting or starvation, is inevitable. Some of the young dingoes are forced to leave the territory. Usually, it is young males that will leave. Dingoes do not travel great distances, but will move to an adjacent area. They may return to the family group, they may not, depending on the fortunes of both. Estuary, and the activity about it attract the young dingoes. This environment is unfamiliar to the young dingoes. The animals here are different, and the dingoes will have to learn quickly where to find them and how best to hunt them. Swans in their hundreds live on the estuary, but at the approach of danger, they swim to deeper water. The young dingoes come across an animal they once feared as puppies, a goanna. They are now the hunters, and it, the prey. Like most reptiles, is a good swimmer. It submerges, and the dingoes are reluctant to put their muzzles underwater. It is able to swim off towards the center of the lake and escape. The inexperienced dingoes are reduced to beachcombing. They have to scavenge the shoreline, searching for what the sea may provide by accident, such as dead birds or fish. Getting enough to eat will be a struggle, but if the season is favorable, they stand a good chance of surviving. This is a crucial stage in the life of these young animals. They've been fortunate in finding a hunting territory where they have been unchallenged by other dingoes. As they grow in strength, they will eventually contact and attach themselves to a group of more experienced dingoes, and the cycle of life will go on.